It's a show. It's a podcast show. Welcome to the Julie Cross Podcast Show. Empowering, energising and entertaining. Hey friends, Julie Cross here. Of course, you know it's Julie Cross. It's my podcast show. How are you all? Hope you're having a great day, a great week. Something special I want to share with you today. Now, you can't actually see it, obviously, because it's a podcast, but I'd like to describe it to you because it's something I found when I was going through some of my stuff the other day. And it's an old exercise book, you know, the ones that we still buy for our children to take to school, the old 80-page quill exercise book. So visualise that. And on the front, it's got written, Julie C. Nice Things is the subject. Nice things. And I do recall having this, and I guess I was about 12 years old. So from about 12 years old, I got this exercise book. And in it are a collection of quotes that have been both in longhand by me, that I've written certain verses out in quotes, and some of them have actually been typed on one of those old-fashioned typewriters with quite a lot of whiteout on them, I must say. And so I was going through it and having a look at what I'd written in this little book all those years ago. And it is filled with positive sayings, positive motivational verses, etc. And I'd love to read one of the things that I have written in here. And it is called, and I think I actually got this out of a New Idea magazine where people send in some of their real-life situations. So it's called Self-Image. Would you believe? Self-image. So this is how it goes. Many years ago, my father, sitting opposite me at the table and puffing away on a cigarette, gave me this advice. Kid, he said, and he always spoke that way, kid, I'm going to tell you something that I hope you'll always try to remember. Survival in this world is very hard, but it can be easier if you have a friend. And kid, your best friend should always be yourself. Now don't ooh and ah and say that's arrogant and conceited. Just listen. Over the years, you will, I hope, make many friends. Every now and then you will feel that this one or that one is your very best friend. Well, kid, friends are like you and me, and they're not infallible. Some will hurt you so much your heart will almost break. Some will marry and drift away. And we must face it, others will die through sickness or accident, and you will feel devastated. But you don't rely on your friends to see you through. Don't expect any one person to feel he has any responsibility for you. Kid, I hope you have many friends of all shapes and sizes, countries and creeds. But kid, try and always to have yourself as your very best friend. So when you receive hard knocks in life, you will like yourself and help yourself and love yourself enough to see you through it. Now, I think that's pretty profound. I wrote that little verse in a book when I was 12 years old. And I don't know how often I read it or referred back to it, but when I look at myself all these years on, at 50 years old, 20 years in business, the last 14 years going through some of the most devastating time of my life, and I look back at the foundation that all that sat on, and if this is what I was reading and treasuring at 12 years old, then these messages subconsciously, even if not consciously, but subconsciously formed a foundation for me to get through the hardest times of my life, and also formed a foundation for me to launch my business, which, as many of you know, it talks about the foundation of healthy self-image, how that is the foundation that everything else sits on. And so these messages were resonating with me and were with me. And I believe had I not had that foundation, I would not have got through what I'd been through, perhaps as well as I did. And don't get me wrong, the well didn't always look fantastic. But I did get through, and I am on the other side of it. And I believe it's because that I place value in these things from such a young age. And so the one thing that I talk to some people about, and I just think this is so true, that in my darkest of times, that even though my friends could support me and they were there for me, and they were, and that my family could love me through it and offer their help, and they did, but even though I had all of that, when I went to bed at night, I was still going to bed with my problems, and there was just me there to wake up with them in the morning. It was still me that had to get myself out of bed every morning and get up and do the day. Nobody else could end up doing that for me. And that's an internal resilience that we all need to have and that we all need to call on. And so that is what we need to be developing in our children, and we need to be exposing them to these messages that help them develop that. And even if it sits in there in some quiet place in their little brains, that subconsciously they have heard them and they have read them, then at some point they can call on them, because in the end it is over to us to get ourselves through our darkest moments. People can support us, they can applaud us, they can be there to comfort us, but we still have to keep getting up through it. So in the end, our best friend will be ourselves. And so let us support our young people with these messages, and by ensuring that they're exposed to these positive messages. And I don't mean just the memes that they flip through on Facebook and don't really take the time to read because they're so busy looking at the images and comparing themselves and those kind of things. So, and this is one of the reasons that I'm doing my Building Resilience workshops for tweens, teens and their parents, is to just give them another platform, another way to get exposed to some of these positive messages. And so whether that be through books or quotes or having something up on the back of your toilet door with lots of positive messages on that they're seeing every day, let us expose them to these messages, because it is their best friends, will be themselves, and that will be who they will have to call on when life gets tough and they have to dig deep. You've got to go within then, or we do go without. So if you're interested in exposing to your young people to some of these messages, juliecross.com.au/events, you will find all the public events that I'm doing there. And resilience, it is the new black. It is the new black. I hope to see you soon. Thank you. Would you like a little bit more sparkle? Then you're invited to download a free poster at juliecross.com.au.